Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Yo soy Laura Alonso del Instituto Nacional de Evaluación Educativa y esta mesa me han pedido que la moderemos en inglés, que hablemos en inglés. Entonces, a partir de ahora pasamos al inglés. A lo largo de la conferencia va a haber momentos también para las preguntas. Entonces, si a la hora de preguntar alguien se siente más cómodo preguntando en español, pues no hay problema tampoco, ¿vale? Os ayudamos con la traducción. Right, so sitting here with me are Gabriela Noveanu from the International Association for Educational Achievement, the IEA, Alfonso Echattarria from the Directorate of Education and Skills at the OECD, and Martin Robinson from Cambridge English. All of them, as you know, leading organizations in educational assessment. And during the next 2 hours, with a short coffee break, we will have the opportunity to listen to them, and you will also have the opportunity to ask questions. And I'm sure that will contribute to a better understanding of assessment, both at an international level and also in our classrooms. So let's get started. I will very briefly introduce the speakers. So let's start with our first speaker, Gabriela. Gabriela Noveanu is a senior researcher at the IEA Secretariat, the Association for International Educational Achievement. And she coordinated Romania's participation in TIMSS and PIRLS, to international comparative studies that assess student performance in reading, in mathematics, and in science. And she has worked for many years in these studies, and especially in TIMSS. She has developed and reviewed the framework, and also she has written items and has reviewed them. So she has a lot to tell us about, and because that's actually what she's going to talk about, right? She's going to talk about TIMSS, the trends in international, trends in international mathematics and science study. Gabriela.
Okay. Good afternoon. I will start by saying thank you for inviting me here, for this great opportunity to be part of this event, because education is the most important thing in the world. So I also thank you for the time you will spend here with us. And I already been introduced here. So working for 2 years now for IEA in IEA Secretariat as a senior researcher, I will speak today about our institution and about large-scale assessment in general, in order to make you more comfortable with idea of participation in this kind of international assessment, which usually ends up in a kind of hierarchy, which is not comfortable for everybody or for each country. So I am trying to change this view, because these large-scale assessments are taking place in the world, not for putting countries on a hierarchy. Actually, we can learn a lot from the results, and this is, I think, the most important thing. Okay. So I'll speak a little bit about our mission, about our network goals, how we are implementing the studies, and also our current studies and new developments, and some sorts of conclusion. This is for today. Tomorrow, I look forward for tomorrow, because tomorrow will be much more interesting, since we are working together and we'll try to write items and to understand the value of these item writings. So IEA is a non-governmental, non-profit cooperative of National Research Institution, and it was founded in 1958 in Hamburg. Develops and conducts high-quality, large-scale comparative studies in education in order to support countries' efforts in their national strategy for education. Also, we can say about us that we continue to promote capacity building and knowledge sharing to foster innovation and quality in education. And we are representing a worldwide network, since our members are representing by national system of education, and all of them are associated with a strong research tradition, linking educational researchers and practitioners. As you see, this is our network. Lots of countries all over the world. And since I was from the beginning mentioned that we are a joint venture relying on spirit of cooperation between partners, well, we can say for sure that we provide a forum for cooperation, development and implementation of comparative studies in education. Also, we are considering ourselves as an important data source for those working to enhance learning in the international, national or regional level, promoting and advancing an evidence-based global dialogue on access and equity in education. As I told you, since we are being initiated in 1958, over the past 55 years, we built an international network of scholars, researchers, policy analysts, and technical experts in the field of large-scale assessment. So in this way, we encourage the exchange of knowledge, expertise, and insights to improve the provision of quality education worldwide. I think that the first question someone facing international assessment would ask is why. So I was thinking what would be the most important reasons I personally agree with, and I end up with these 5. So it is important to participate in international assessment, because in this way we have the chance as countries to monitor the effectiveness of our school system. In a global context, this is also very important, because we can compare ourselves with others, and in this way we can speak more about our performance. The second reason which I consider important is for participation is because we are able to evaluate progress in educational achievement over time for both international and national perspective. Our studies are cyclic. They follow a cyclic pattern. So depends of the study, certain interval of time these studies are taking place. So in this way we can evaluate the progress. Also, it is important because we work towards closing the gaps in educational achievement and achieve equity among ethnic, social and regional groups. This is because we are collecting data, and these data are very valuable when they are connected with performance. And from this point of view, we can speak about closing gaps. Another important reason is that in this way we can examine educational achievement and growth in learning outcomes from primary through secondary schools. This is happening actually in TIMSS study, Trends in International Mathematics and Science Study. And why? Because TIMSS investigating primarily two populations, grade 4 and grade 8. So grade 4 students are assessed in one cycle. Next cycle, these 4 graders will become the 8 graders. So in this way, we can compare the performance of this cohort, because we are testing the same population at 4-year interval. Also, it is important because we are, as I said already, provide international databases, and using these international databases, we can find factors associated with high performance. From the practical point of view, or from the practical perspective, we can say that we have our studies have two functions. One is benchmarking function. Since our studies provide international benchmark, these are for team study, low international benchmark, medium international benchmark, high international benchmark, and advanced international benchmark. All these benchmarks are associated with scale score and also with descriptors. These descriptors gives us an image or a profile of students reaching different benchmarks. So in this way, we provide comparable indicators over the world on student performance and schooling practices, and also for schooling practices across countries. Also, the analytic function should be mentioned here because based on this data collected, we suggest, each country could suggest hypotheses about relationship between student performance and factors that might influence performance. And also, we can identify areas where students have particular strengths or weaknesses. But we'll come back here later on. From the perspective of the design of our studies, it is very important to mention here that our studies are embedded in school structure, so are grade-based. As I already mentioned, population investigated are belonging to certain grades. So we are investigating 4 graders, 6 graders, 8 graders, 12 graders, and so on. And also our study, a very important feature of our study is that they are curriculum-based. So we can measure actually what student achieved based on or starting from the curriculum. IEA studies take into consideration both process and products of education. So we are speaking about products when we are defining the content and cognitive domains which are under investigation, and also having a wide focus on grade levels and subjects. We are speaking about process because we capture school, teacher, student, parents context, and these give us information actually about the process. And also because our studies are trend studies, we can also investigate or see how the performance of our students evolve in time. So this is again a matter of processes. And also we give opportunities to our participating countries to include their regional options. These regional options are actually based on research question at national level, and these also are dealing or are with processes. In order to speak more about curriculum, and since this is the major feature of our studies and differentiate our study to other large-scale assessment, I can tell you how it is working, this one. So IA studies are investigating curriculum from 3 dimensions. The first one is intended curriculum. Intended curriculum is defined as what society intends for students to learn and how education system should be organized to facilitate the learning. And this investigation of intended curriculum is done based on thorough review of countries' curricula, based on thorough review of assessment materials, which a process involving all the countries, and also via test curriculum matching analysis, which is a depth analysis taking into consideration the performance of one country to those items which are related to the content taught in schools. And this is one aspect. And this is compared with the performance of students to the whole bunch of items. And this makes the difference and could let us know more about the relationship between performance and achievement and curriculum. The other dimension is implemented curriculum, and its definition is what is actually taught in the classrooms. Teachers are asked what and how they taught students. This information are collected via questionnaires. The achieved curriculum is defined as what students have learned and what they think about this subject. And in this way, we find out about their performance not in the whole content, not related to the whole content, but we can broken the results by subject areas and cognitive processes. And this, of course, can be further investigate these results, because they could be in a way related to competencies and other major concepts which are important in our days. In-depth analysis of mismatches between countries' curricula and student achievement is also a kind of analysis which is related to the third dimension of the curriculum. So, in this moment, when countries receive the results, it's in countries' hands, let's say, what is going on further. If it is stay as a constatatory process and people reacted and perceive it as it is, or countries might decide to change the curriculum, or, and we are speaking here about intended curriculum based on our definition, or changes in the implemented curriculum. So this means action taken in service teacher training programs or in teacher education. One important feature for us is a very challenging one. It's obvious, since I was telling you until now that we design trend studies. It is important to keep continuity with the past and relevance to the change. So this is done by linking assessment over time, by bridging studies, or framework development. So using the same set of items in successive assessment, restricting changes in design, employing specific statistics, and interpreting results cautiously could lead to the assessment which can be linked to another one over the time. Bridging studies implies students which are survived under old or new procedures, and the most critical issue in maintaining continuity with the past and relevance to the changes framework, developing of the framework. And for this we have taken into account a strong connection to constructs considered fundamentals for the study subject, and also we take into consideration previous data collection data and other studies in order to make changes, or we take into consideration emerging questions and needs. So this process is a very elaborate one, but anyway, this helps us for making further analysis and telling about what was done and what is necessary to be done. IA studies are implementing being cooperative ventures are implementing coordinated by international study centers. So each study has an international study center responsible for the direction of the study and the management of the studies, and here are some of our international study centers. International study centers are working with other centers of expertise in the world, and we mention here also our data processing center and our secretariat. But the most important here in this equation are national study centers, because each country designate a national study center, which is important not only because is the respective national study center implement the study, but it is important because the national study center is part of the development process of framework, is part of the development process of instruments. So in this way we provide that form of cooperation mentioned in the beginning as part of our mission. Also, international advisory committees of scholars, researchers, policy analysts, and technical experts are involved, and of course they are the final instance which approve our studies from the scientific point of view. So, source of data, it's obvious that it is important for us. The most important is the assessment of student achievement in one or more school subjects or in an interdisciplinary area of learning. This is done using test booklets, and also it is very important, a very important part in data collection is in regard with collecting international comparable information on the background characteristics of participating students or their parents or their teacher or schools, in order to allow further analysis and in order to find out what factors which might influence student performance. Our current studies, already mentioned several times, trends in international mathematics and science study, assess mathematics and science achievement at grade 4, grade 8, and grade 12, is conducted every 4 years. Since 1995 till the present time, 2015, the number of participants increased, starting with 45, we end up now with 70. In the beginning, this study was called Third International Mathematics and Science Study, and the next one, taking place in 1999, was Third International Mathematics and Science Study Repeat. Since then, the new name was Trends in International Mathematics and Science Study. Current cycle taking place in 2015, data collection was taken place this year, add to another new studies, TIMSS numeracy. This is designed for countries where students are still developing fundamental mathematics knowledge skills, procedures and problem-solving strategies. Students assessed are now in grade 4, 5 or 6. And also a new, very important one, this is the second edition, let's say, TIMSS Advanced 2015. The first one took place in 2008. And this one assesses final year secondary students' achievement in advanced mathematics and physics. Another important study is Progress in International Reading Literacy Study, already mentioned today here. Assess reading ability of 4th graders at the time of moving from learning to read to reading to learn. It's conducted every 5 years since 2001, and now it's up to 60 countries. Here also we have 2 extra studies, PEARS literacy, and this is very similar with TIMSS numeracy, because this assessment is designated to measure foundational reading skills for those countries which opted to take this instead of PEARS. And also a new one is ePEARS. It's an innovative online assessment of reading achievement designed to be responsive to the information age. ICCS, International Civic and Citizenship Education Study, investigate the knowledge and understanding of 8th graders in regard with civic and citizenship. Currently is taking place in 24 countries. Next year, 2016, will be the data collection. ICILS, International Computer and Information Literacy Study, assess computers literacy competencies of grade 8 students, and this is conducted in 21 educational systems. And this ends 2 years ago. New developments the new development right now is related to electronic teams, which will assess the students' science knowledge in a computer-based environment. And this is done since ICT literacy is emphasized all over the world, and also schools are equipped with computers and their use is embedded in the teaching and learning. So all these data are very important because we can work forward and go for identified school effectiveness, what make the definition of an effective school. So a great range of educational factors can be examined based on data collected, and this is really great potential to study school effectiveness. Also, our studies are can be used based on international reports. International reports are very important for identifying the or to have an initial view about how education is taking place in different countries all over the world. What are the performances, what is good and what is less good in regard to its performance in science, math, reading, computer literacy, civic and citizenship, and so on. But from all these reports or thematic reports associated with large-scale assessment studies conducted by IEA, I choose only one, Teams and Peers Relationship Report, which was published in October 2013. And this report was it is very important, but it was developed because in 2011 there was a unique opportunity of countries to participate in both teams and peers with 4th graders. So in this way, 4th graders were assessed in math, science and reading. So all 3 subjects were investigated in 2011. So a lot of research answers were solved, were posed, and finally some answers were found. For example, how do homes support literacy and numeracy, for example? Are schools more effective in different subjects? Or what are the characteristics of effective schools in reading, mathematics and science? The only condition was that the country be part of these both studies in 2011. So the results highlighted in these reports, one kind of result, I chose this one because is related to our benchmark function, which I mentioned in the beginning. So as can be seen here, for one country participating in teams and peers with grade 4, could be identified the percentage of students which perform at high benchmark. High benchmark is one of international benchmark, and in terms of score, it means a score of 550. And in order to make you an image about this performance in terms of scale point, I will mention that low benchmark is 425 and the highest 450, sorry, and the highest one is 625. So in this interval between 450 and 625 are settled these international benchmarks. So Hong Kong students, for Hong Kong's 82% of Hong Kong students are reaching high benchmark in mathematics. 67% are reaching high benchmark in reading, and 46% are reaching science high benchmark. And for almost 40% from the students are reaching high benchmark on all these disciplines. This is important in order to make an idea about what is about strengths and weaknesses, and about the percentage of population performing at high performance international benchmarks. Also, based on these studies, capacity building because is one of our goal. Assessment is not a goal in itself. Secondary analysis, it's absolutely necessary in order to understand educational systems. So IEA emphasize capacity building in the countries in order to find out what works in the country, find answer to pressing policy questions, find differences within the country, find ways to improve the educational system. And for this, a lot of opportunities are in researcher and practitioners' hands. All data are available for download. The software support for analysis could be downloaded for free also, and also seminars are for countries' researcher or practitioner are conducted by IEA. So this is the place where data could be found, all our data for all our studies, for all participating countries. This is the tool which allows researchers to investigate further. And what makes us unique, it is about international assessment in primary school. This is unique for IA studies. Methodology, design and framework are independently defined. High integrity of IA activity. Long-term cycles, you already being seen this, which track changes in curriculum and instructional practices, enabling countries to measure progress over time and identify issues relevant for their system and for their reform especially. Also e-assessment, e-PERS, and also in the future e-teams will support paper-based assessment, which is regular PERS or regular science teams, and also a strong network of long-term expertise to leverage. National research coordinators and national research centers are integral to the studies development process, as I already said, and IEA startup national research team and build capacities that didn't previously exist. I look forward for tomorrow, as I said in the beginning, and I thank you very much for your attention. For those participating in Teams workshop tomorrow, these teams will be present in much more depth because it is should be emphasized like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gabriela. We now have approximately 5 minutes for questions. Please be brief and concise because it's not much time, but it's your turn to ask questions before Alfonso's presentation.
I was just wondering if you could put back the slide with the links. I didn't have time to copy it.
Back to the...
Could you put again the slides with the links, please?
Too quick, huh? And I didn't know how to do it. Which one? Okay. This one, yes?
Previous.
This one? No. Ah, okay.
Finish?
Okay.
other questions?
Hi, my name is Katarina. I can ask in Spanish or English. None of them is my native language, so I'll make mistakes in both. Yeah, as you wish. I'm actually interested in part when you were speaking about curriculum. You were talking about 3 things that you evaluate or assess.
Intended curriculum,
implemented, and
achieved. Yes.
So, what part of all this is actually included in your questions, in your exam? Because
Everything is included.
everything is included.
Everything, yes, because we analyze intended curriculum based on analyzing in depth participating countries' curricula, first of all, and then there is each country contribute to development of the framework. So this is also based on national curriculum, yes. Based on national curriculum, countries come and give us suggestion, and there is a negotiation in order to define which is staying in our framework and which domain is excluded. So this is how we are, this is the part of the process. But as I told you, we measure intended curriculum, because there are certain links and certain analysis which are correlate performance in one subject with different topics associated based on countries' curricula. And if we are speaking about implemented curriculum, it's we are investigating teachers' opinion and headmasters' opinion in regard with teaching, learning, math, science, depends on the study, is under control. And achieved curriculum is, of course, given by test results.
But in my experience, I'm working in a company where we actually analyze curriculums, Spanish curriculums, South American curriculums, and United States curriculums in science. And what I see, there's big differences in topics that are included or excluded, and also in the age. I mean, sometimes something is taught in the United States in 3rd grade, when in Spain it's 6th grade. So that was my question, actually. How do you decide, because this is for 4th grade exam, and there are so many differences, and there are topics that are not taught in all countries?
Yes, I mentioned,
yeah,
I understood. Yes, I agree with you. It's not until now, and I don't know what to say. I hope not for the future. We do not have a global curriculum, so we can't speak about this totally, how to say, curriculum which is the same in different countries. As I told you, this negotiation process is taking place with the countries. So majority of the countries are studying a certain topic at a certain time during this interval 0-4, because 4th graders are assessed based on what they learn between 1st grade and 4th grade. So doesn't matter when they study something, they supposed to react on the item which was administered. But I told you during my presentation that there is a in-depth analysis which is called test curriculum matching analysis, and in this kind of analysis each country supposed to mention what are the topics taught in schools. So, and if, as a consequence, if the item is appropriate or not for their population. So this, based on this, there are further analyses which linked the performance with the, which calculate the performance based on these items which are considered by the country appropriate. And this is a kind of analysis, and a certain score is achieved by the, I am speaking here about mean scores, yes? And the second one is that computing the scores of the students based on the whole items. Doesn't matter if they were taught in schools or not taught in schools. So we have two different results. They are compared, and it is somehow incredible to see that the hierarchy of the countries doesn't change at all. So this is our analysis which protect countries against students being assessed from topics which are not taught in schools. But anyway, this is also, I am speaking now as a person involved at national level in this activity, and I found it this participation of students as in international assessment, and being very important from the perspective of seeing having another perspective on assessment, because at national level we are usually teaching in a way and assessing in the same way, but international perspective gives you the opportunity to put your students under different assessment after different items, and I was amazed to see in analyzing the performance of Romanian students on those items which are not taught in, related to content, not taught in school, the performance was very good. So there are many things to take into consideration and to investigate further.
Right. Thank you very much, Gabriela.